election is a test of the common Indian's patriotism. And if you are with Modi, you are with India. If you are not with Modi, you are anti-India. That's it.
You look at the dry tap in your kitchen, then back at the golden city on your phone. It doesn't match. So you check again. Different video, same feeling. An 8-meter bronze statue gleams under the summit lights. The streets are swept completely free of friction. The crowds are cheering in perfect unison. Everything looks perfect. And that is exactly the problem. The math is wrong right from the start. Why doesn't the reality around you match the image on your screen? The anomaly isn't isolated. You start noticing it more often now. What you see on the broadcast simply does not line up with the concrete beneath your feet. Historically, when nations stepped onto the global stage, they sought equal standing, a quiet, defensive posture designed to secure a place among peers. But the current broadcast demands something entirely different, an outright inversion of the hierarchy, a claim to absolute civilizational supremacy. But what's the direction of the message? It feels inverted. The 2023 G20 summit wasn't a standard diplomatic event. 200 meetings across 60 cities and 100,000 delegates. It was a mass-marketed spectacle. But it didn't feel like it was meant for foreign diplomats. It felt like it was meant for you. You start to wonder if the data is building a nation or just building a narrative. If a country is unequivocally rising, why does the ground feel so fragile? Look at the operational core. The initial promise was simple: minimum interference, maximum efficiency. But check the wiring. The language begins to fracture. You expect governance to distribute power outward. Take the flagship Smart Cities mission. 100 technological advanced centers. You expect the execution to empower the ground it's built on. But it relies entirely on corporate vehicles. You voted for a local mayor, but a centrally monitored corporate board quietly absorbs the budget and the distance. The rhetoric promises flexibility to bypass red tape, but on the ground, it behaves like a legal bypass of local democracy. Your vote was collected, but your voice was routed to a boardroom. What's the state level? They push a double-engine model, claiming alignment between the capital and the state eliminates friction and accelerates miracles.
आज उत्तर प्रदेश डबल इंजन सरकार के डबल लाभ का बहुत बड़ा उदाहरण है। योगी जी और उनकी पूरी टीम ने सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास के मंत्र पर चलते हुए उत्तर प्रदेश को नई भूमिका के लिए तैयार किया है।
But walk through Uttar Pradesh, the most populous state. The projection says rapid growth. The concrete says otherwise. Real growth sits below the national average. Nominal income is precisely half the national figure. Nearly a fifth of the population remains entirely dependent on basic transfers. It doesn't look like an economic miracle. It looks like an assembly line. Internal factions disappear. Power pulls relentlessly toward a single center. Power is concentrating, but the ground around it is still cracking. You expect the numbers to eventually stabilize to form a solid foundation beneath the projection. The domestic promise is a fully developed, self-reliant powerhouse by the centenary. But then, the data starts breaking reality. A cornerstone of this ambition is Skill India, upskilling 500 million workers. But independent audits expose a profound void. Only 11 million certified out of 500 million. Ghost training centers appearing on paper and vanishing in reality, hundreds of thousands of invalid phone numbers, Job placements deemed entirely unreliable by the auditors themselves. But no one is held accountable. The initiative just keeps running in the dark. They promised Make in India, a decoupling from geopolitical rivals. But look at the cargo ships arriving at the ports. The industrial base remains critically tethered to foreign machinery, computers, and telecommunications equipment. The trade deficit swells to record highs, pushing past $112 billion. The rival formally becomes the largest trading partner. They call it self-reliance. Yet, the entire industrial base remains tethered to the rival. But trade deficits are abstract. The ultimate break is measured in bodies. The state aggressively promoted itself as the world's pharmacy. The triumphant narrative was everywhere until the second wave hit. The official statistics claimed a manageable tragedy, about 400,000 fatalities. But the civil registration data, the actual physical count of the dead, showed a massive, undeniable surge. Excess mortality over 6 times higher than reported. Over 3.2 million missing from the official count. You look at the empty chairs. You look at the official numbers. Something doesn't hold. But no one is saying it out loud. The contradictions are so massive, they should tear the broadcast apart. But instead of breaking, the image just gets louder. Why? Because you are looking in the wrong direction. You think this is about broadcasting strength to the outside world. It isn't. This is not about them. It's about you. You have seen it. That one message forwarded again and again and again. It arrives in your family group chat. It surfaces in your neighborhood forum. Not hundreds, not thousands, over 5 million discrete WhatsApp groups. Driven by 150,000 coordinated operators, fueled by $2 billion in untraceable electoral bonds. You think you are consuming information to understand the world, but somehow it keeps finding you. It feels like familiar, like it knows exactly what you're already worried about. You see a video of a clash, the caption tells you it's a contemporary attack. It tells you your way of life is under threat. You don't check the date. You don't realize the footage is years old. Dragged from a different city, repurposed for the exact second. You feel a sudden intense surge of pride, a profound sensation of communal solidarity. And instantly, it is followed by a blinding flash of anger. You are depicted as a victim under perpetual siege. The feeling hits before the thought even forms. You are not watching a broadcast anymore. But what exactly are you reacting to? The conflict feels constant. It has to. Without the conflict, you might look back at the dry tap. You might start counting the ghost factories. So an internal enemy must be constantly constructed.
This election is a test of the common Indian's patriotism. And if you are with Modi, you are with India. If you're not with Modi, you are anti-India. That's it.
Dissenters, activists, minorities. They are framed not as citizens but as existential threats. When someone points at the failing math, they are branded with a pejorative slogan, a traitor and a danger to the nation. Rational analysis short circuits, completely overwhelmed by raw tribal loyalty. The questions about the missing numbers simply disappear. It triggers an immediate visceral reflex in you. You defend the projection because the projection feels like a part of you now. But for this to hold, the aesthetic shell of democracy must remain untouched. Slowly, the oversight hollows out from the inside. Global indices plummet. The response is aggressive blanket denial. When the data cannot refute it, it is simply withheld. If the oversight is gone and data is hidden, how much of the ground has already shifted while you were staring at the screen? The ground isn't just shifting beneath your feet, it is shifting inside your head. Governance was never meant to distribute control. It was engineered to centralize it absolutely. The data doesn't build a nation. It is actively suppressed to protect the narrative. You wanted to believe the broadcast because it felt safe. But a system built on total perception cannot afford a single crack in the lens. It requires the continuous emotional stimulation of the populace. It demands the relentless framing of an internal enemy to keep you distracted from the failing math. Everything you saw, the statues, the summits, the endless forwarded messages, was the Vishwaguru, designed to keep you looking up so you would never look down at the dry tap. Then it clicks, not loudly, quietly, not later, now. A flawless image requires the complete eradication of empirical truth. By the time you see the system, you are already defending it. This is Akshat, signing off.